going to call this meeting to order of the Ascos County Commissioners Court. It's a regular meeting taking place in the county courtroom at Suite 203, November 8th, 9 a.m. If you please stand with me for a prayer and pledge of allegiance. Please bow your heads. Father, we just thank you for this day, your blessings. We thank you for the rain. We'd like to ask for more while we're at it, Lord, and we just ask you to give the county your blessings, that your face would shine upon this county, and we would be what you want us to be, that you would give us wisdom to make the right decisions today on behalf of the county and this body, and we just ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Please place slide. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Agenda item number 3 is public comments. We have one. Is there anyone that wishes to speak in public comments at this time that has not turned their form in? This is a time, if you wish to speak, a citizen wishes to speak to any agenda item or any county business in general, that any citizen can speak at this time. We have one request to speak in public comments, and that is Ms. Julie Hilberg, representing the Atascosa County Democratic Party. Good morning, Ms. Hilberg.
Good morning. Hold on, just give me a second. All right. Thank you. Good morning, Judge Hurley, Commissioners. This morning, I would like to very briefly address an issue that has arisen over redistricting in our county. At the last Commissioners Court for redistricting, changes were made, and I have received the proposed maps. However, on closer inspection, it appears that Judge Orlando Carrasco, JP for Precinct 3, his home has been moved from Precinct 3 to Precinct 4. If you look at the proposed maps that we received, was it last week, I believe? The new border between Precinct 3 and Precinct 4 is literally just feet away from his house. So, in other words, a duly elected official has been redistricted out of the precinct and the constituents that he serves. Now, I believe that this is an error and an oversight, as at the last meeting of Commissioners Court for redistricting, there was pretty much unanimous agreement that this is not what the commissioners wanted, and understandably so, of course. So what I'm here today for, and what I'm asking, is that this oversight be corrected before the meeting on Wednesday, so that we can start the redistricting process with the correct information and maps. Because my concern is if we don't, the results of this could be quite catastrophic. That's all I'm here to say. I just look forward to hearing from you, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Agenda item number 4 is Don Penny. Discuss and take appropriate action regarding an update on current COVID-19 situation, needs, and response.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. Me and Mr. Knowlton, we kind of spoke a little bit this morning. I'm kind of glad to say, but still worried about it. We're kind of like at an all-time low right now at our COVID activations and everything. And that's through Atascosa County and through the RMOC district. Right now, the average new daily cases on a 7-day average has been 94 for the complete RMOC. For Atascosa County, we are even less than that. Right now, we sit at 54.1% of 12-year-old and older completely vaccinated. And we are in the very beginning where it's a roller coaster thing. And right now we're just hitting the very bottom of our last roller coaster. So far it's been peaking like every 3 months, and hopefully we will stay low and we'll see if these vaccines are working. Right now, for the Armonk district, 4% of the people that are going to the hospital are there for COVID. I'm really glad to say that the EMS here, we transported one positive patient since last commissioner's court. We went from an average of 5 or 6 a day, we're down to 1 in a 2-week period. So we have been doing excellent on that part. The booster shots are out. I received mine on Friday through King's Medicine here in Pleasanton. The other places, Walmart, Walgreens, HEB, they have the boosters. It's half the dose of what you got the first time. I didn't get no symptoms off it, but just a sore arm. That's all I got off of the deal. Other than that, our PPE status is, again, we're way ahead of the program there, so we are prepared for the next, if it comes, the next high rise. Other than that, everything has been going good, and we've had no problems with, you know, like I said, the COVID for the last couple of weeks now.
Are there any questions for Mr. Penny? Thank you, Mr. Penny. We'll move on to agenda item number 5, which is Don Penny. Discuss and take appropriate action concerning personnel, new employee, Michael Wayne Newman, position temporary part-time paramedic, pay rate $12 an hour, salary budget area 041-400-518, physical drug test not applicable, start date 11/08/2021. Mr. Penny.
For the last couple of weeks, we've been doing interviews and everything. Mr. Newman is one that I am going to hire in January, but right now we need to get him through the FTO program and everything. Mr. Newman also brings to us that he is a coordinator, so that we can start doing classes, different classes through our agency. We're going to step up everybody once we get it going in there, and we have all different card certification classes, or pre-hospital trauma, pre-hospital emergency medicine, and he is a coordinator, so I don't have to go out and search one. He'll be working for us. So yes, I wish to bring him aboard. Right now, again, for temporary part-time, so I can get him through my FTO program and everything. And then come January, they'll be ready to get on a truck.
Motion by Commissioner Knowlton. Second by Commissioner Perez. Any questions? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Penny.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good day.
We have our District Attorney, Audrey Gossett-Lewis. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. I also have Rhonda Williamson is here with me. She arrived just in time. The legislature has mandated that you as commissioners must create a SART, which is a sexual assault response team. This team not only has to be in place, but has to have met prior to December 1st. So that's why we're here on kind of short notice and wanting to present this to you now. And the purpose of the SART is simply, it is a multidisciplinary team to assist with sexual assault victims, adult sexual assault victims. We already have this team in place for our child sexual abuse cases. And so this is really, the legislature's created this for adult sexual assaults, which we do not have nearly as many adult sexual assaults in Atascosa County as we do child sexual assaults. Nonetheless, this team will meet quarterly. It's headed by a nonprofit, and Rhonda Williamson has agreed to do that. They have a sexual assault program that they provide to Atascosa County since she's with Safer Path Family Violence Shelter. So before you, you should have a list of proposed team members, because the legislature has laid out that we must have a felony prosecutor, we must have a sheriff or his designee, we must have the chief of police or his designee from the largest police agency in the county, as well as behavioral health people, someone with the hospital, things like that. So you guys have that before you, but you are responsible not only for appointing those proposed members, but should one fall off or no longer be a part of the team within 30 days, we'll have to replace it and bring that to you to replace. And then on odd number of years, we'll report to you what the SART, the numbers and statistics of the SART in our meetings, so.
Is it the same members for the juvenile also, or?
It is not the same members. For instance, Rhonda Williamson, it's the Child Advocacy Center that puts on what we call MDT for the child abuse cases. And it's different designees, like the Sheriff's Office has Jake Guerra here. We have Albert from the Sheriff's Office because he handles the child abuse cases. So it won't be the exact same team.
Is this
Yes.
list limited, or can you have, is there a maximum number of members?
There's not a maximum. It says, you know, there's these requirements and then anyone else that the team deems a good part. So we want to include other law enforcement agencies. We have to include at least 2, but we want to include everybody. And, you know, it's designed for less victimization for our adult sexual assault victims, to more effectively get the cases through the judicial process and make sure they're getting all the services that they deserve. So that's the purpose. So I'll be going to each of my 5 counties and trying to get these established here this week, so that we can not only be established but meet prior to December 1st and get our protocols in place.
Motion by Commissioner Knowlton for approval,
Second.
second by Commissioner Perez. Discussion, questions? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you for putting this together.
Absolutely. Thank y'all, and thank Robbie for helping out with all that. Yeah, appreciate it.
Number 7, Emma Garcia with Camino Real, discuss and take appropriate action concerning extending the memorandum of agreement between Camino Real Community Services, Ascos County Commissioners Court, and Ascos County Mental Health Clinic, and authorize the county judge to sign. Please note this should have been reaffirmed in 2020, but it was inadvertently overlooked. This 2-year extension covers September 1, 2020 through August 31st, 2022.
No one here?
We don't have anyone here to speak to it. It's a
Move for approval.
motion by Commissioner Gillespie to approve. Second by Commissioner Knowlton. Discussions, questions? This is just simply the memorandum. I don't even think it includes the donation we make to them or anything, so it's just a memorandum of agreement between the 2 organizations. And it's the same one we've approved in the past. So if there's no other questions, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Number 8, Laura Pavelic, discuss and take appropriate action concerning approving publication of the Treasurer's Report Order in the Pleasant Express newspaper and county website for October 2021. Good morning, Ms.
Good morning. I'm here every month, and I'm here again requesting approval to publish our treasurer's report.
So move.
Second.
Motion by
Me.
Commissioner Perez, second by Commissioner Knowlton. Discussion. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Number 9, Daniela Martinez. Good morning, Ms. Martinez. We have 2 different categories, so why don't I read the first one separately? We'll vote on that, and then we'll vote on the next 2 together. Is that all right?
Yes, sir.
New employee, William Dean, position, entry-level juvenile supervision officer, pay rate $28,000 annually, salary budget area 039-400-562, physical drug test pending, start date 11/15/2021. Ms. Martinez.
Yes, sir. We're still in need of JSOs. Actually, when I came last time to Commissioners Court, there was one female that we had hired, and when we called after the approval, she never responded. So this is one replacement, and then we still have one more left. So Mr. Dean was excellent at his interview, and we're just hoping that you can approve this entry-level position, please. And it's in our budget.
Motion by Commissioner Riley,
Second.
second by Commissioner Perez. Discussion, questions? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Next 2 are new employee Kristen Champagne.
If I can correct that, sir, it was supposed to be Kirsten, so
Kirsten?
it was an error on my end. It's
So how is
K-
that spelled?
It's KYRSTEN. So I apologize
Just
for
have
that.
to reverse the R and the Y.
Yes,
So it's
sir.
KYRSTEN
Yes, sir. So it's Kirsten instead of Kristen.
Champagne.
Yes, sir.
Position part-time control room tech, pay rate $12 per hour, salary budget area 039-400-562, physical drug test pending, start date 11/15/2021. New employee Cynthia Rodriguez. All data is the same as Ms. Champagne's, so we'll be voting on the two together.
Yes, sir.
Motion by Commissioner Perez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Riley. Discussion. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have Sheriff Soward, number 10. Discuss and take, let's see what we have here. All three different.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll take the first one. Existing employee David Arta, position courthouse security, pay rate tier 1, 48533.60 annually, $120 uniform, 40 hours weekly. Salary budget area 059-400-402. Physical drug test not applicable. Start date 11/08/2021.
Deputy Artis just completed his 90-day probationary period, so he's moving up to tier 1 salary. That's all it is.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Gillespie,
Second.
second by Commissioner Perez. Discussion. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Next one is new employee Raul Sosa, 3. Position patrol deputy, pay rate tier 2, 46533.60 annually, 171 fluctuating pay program, $120 uniform, $175 holiday pay, 90-day county probation, 1-year agency probation. Salary budget area 012-440-410. Physical drug test pending. Start date 11/08/2021, 9 a.m. Sheriff?
Yes, sir. Mr. Sosa is from Atascosa County, born and raised. Hiring him as a patrol deputy starting this morning. Tier 2 salary and the benefits stated in the agenda. He's taken his physical and drug test, we're just pending results.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Gillespie, second by Commissioner Knowlton. Discussion. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Next item is new employee Mark Vega, corrections officer, pay rate tier 2, 41750.11 per year, 171-hour fluctuating pay program, 90-day probation, 1-year agency probation, $150 holiday pay, $120 uniform pay. Salary budget area 012-442-562. Physical drug test is complete. Start date 11/15/2021. Sure.
Mr. Vega comes to us with about 5 years' experience, starting as a correction officer, tier 2 salary, the benefits stated in the agenda, and physical and drug tests have been complete, and the start date's November 15th.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Perez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Riley. Discussion. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Number 11, Commissioner Gillespie, discuss and take appropriate action concerning issuing McCoy Water Supply Corporation a permit for a road bore located in Precinct 1 at 1119 Old Adams Lane, Pleasant, Texas, for Maria Gonzalez. Commissioner Gillespie.
Thank you, Your Honor. I've been to location. McCoy Water is going to be doing a bore at this address for residents and for water supply, and I move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gillespie, second by Commissioner Knowlton. Discussion, questions? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Number 12, Trent Rowell. Good morning, Mr. Rowell. Good morning. Discuss and take appropriate action concerning personnel. New employee, Shaylee Arredondo. Position temporary part-time secretary. Pay rate $15 per hour, 24 to 29 hours per week. Salary budget area 012-404-402. Physical drug test not applicable. Start date 11/08/21. Mr. Rowell.
We have an employee that's going to be out on medical leave for extended period of time. We talked about that in the budget, adding something for a part-time, but for this year, she will be possibly out the remainder of the year. So this is a person to take on those responsibilities part-time.
Move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Gillespie,
Second.
second by Commissioner Riley.
I have a question. I thought the pay rate was $12 an hour for the part time. Huh?
Ask Ms. Pavelic to answer that.
Well, in our here thing, it does say $12 an hour. But I guess you gentlemen can approve if it's in their budget. And I have not looked at their budget, I don't know.
I mean, I didn't do the math, but it was, what they did was they took the amount that we had remaining and made that into an hourly salary. We have that much and more in our budget because she won't be working 40 hours a week as opposed to what was already budgeted. But that's
This
what I can
is,
speak to.
Candace gonna be out?
Yes, sir.
So in this, renew her salaries, it does state part-time is $12 an hour, but I mean,
You're saying we can override that?
commissioners can pretty much do as you choose, I think.
Up to a point.
Up to a point.
Yeah, that's,
It's legal, yes.
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
That's good, that's good, put that on the end of it.
Yeah.
As long as it's legal.
And I would say, I would advise it is legal, it's in our budget, but the policy decision, again, as I always say, is yours. But again, we're not spending any more money. This isn't anyone new that we're
Well,
using.
since the presenter is also our county attorney,
Yes, sure. I mean, it wasn't easy to find someone. This is, you know, what we had to do. It's not just data entry. It's not just answering phones. There's specific software. By the way, this is not for the civil side of the office, which is just me. It is for the criminal side, and that position involves getting ready for court, entering data that I don't know what I wouldn't know how to do it, but they're entering things for probation, getting cases ready, those sorts of things.
and I bet you don't want to learn how to
And
do
I
it.
don't want to learn that. I don't want this to be my job, is what I'm saying.
Your pleasure, Commissioners. We do have a motion and a second, but you can change that if you want to, or we can move forward with the motion.
I'm okay with it because I know what the position entails. However, a discussion amongst commissioners here, what's good for one's good for all. So in the event we let this one go, we're gonna have to have some deep explanations of why we're gonna do it again if it comes to our attention. In this event, we all know what the attorney's office does for the whole county, and that position is something that you don't just go find someone off the street. In my eyes, I'm okay with it. That's why I made the motion. I'm glad it was up for discussion because I was gonna bring it up, but there again, we gotta vote on it, so.
Would you be interested in modifying your motion to include that as long as it's within his budget?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, normally, and Trent probably just didn't know this, if they want to ask for more than what we have printed, they normally do talk about the reason behind why they're asking for more and what the responsibilities are and the difficulty of the job and things of that nature. And Trent did address that.
Yeah, but what he addressed is fine, we all recognize the needs of the job, but
And
as
usually
long
they-
as it's within his budget is really the
And
point.
usually they say the reason we're asking for more is because this is the situation and it's in the budget, so.
Yes, and it's my understanding it is in the budget. If it's not, she won't start and we'll come back here, but I believe we've confirmed that it's in the
And
budget.
she is qualified for this
And
job.
she is qualified for the job.
What happens at the end of the year? Are y'all gonna,
That's my question.
Well, if the employee comes back, she won't be working there anymore. This is just to fill this position while the employee is out. It's not a new employee. It won't be a new secretary. It will just be replacing Ms. Bartosh while she's out on medical leave. So she will be gone, and that's why I know we have it in the budget, because all we're doing, I don't want to get into all of the
So your
deals, but
plan at this time is that Ms. Bartosh is going to be back before the end of the year?
she's either going to be back before the end of the year, or if she's not, then we'll have to come back to you for, we may need to fill that position.
She may have to go on FMLA, and then you may have to
She
fill
will,
the
she
position.
is on
Probably
FMLA.
on FMLA now, that's why
Yes.
it's not in the budget.
Yes. That's why the money remains in the budget, exactly.
Okay.
She's not going to be drawing her salary while she's in.
amend my motion to include, as long as you're within your budget on the part-time of 15 an hour, I'll make my motion.
Have a second?
Second.
You amend your second the same as
Yes.
Commissioner Gillespie? To include, limited to the amount of budget available?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. All those opposed? We have one opposed, Commissioner Perez, 3-4. And so the motion carries.
Thank you.
And number 13 is Trent Rowell. Discuss and take appropriate action concerning final plat for the Campbellton Acre subdivision, Unit 1 plat, 5.62 acre subdivision located at FM 536 and Old Campbellton Road in Precinct 1, Ascos County, Texas. Water to be provided by McCoy Water. County attorney has reviewed and approved. Mr. Rowell.
This is a plat that is in Precinct 1. It's, these are going to be a little over 5 acre units. There'll be 10 of them. It's a 25 acre development. We have reviewed the plat and it meets all of our qualifications. I believe this is the one where Commissioner Gillespie had some issues with the amount of the driveways or their positioning, and I believe those have been worked out with the developer. So we are telling you that it meets all the qualifications and it's ready for approval.
Ray, do you have anything you want to add?
Excuse me, Trent. So this is Unit 1 of a 2-unit development. This will be 10 lots. Unit 2 will come here in about a month from now. This is essentially driveways will all be off the existing county roadway. Talked to Commissioner Gillespie on this. We have shared driveways on the majority of those lots. He and I have discussed some of those specifications, but everything else should be in order.
Move for approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Gillespie.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Perez. Discussion, comments, questions? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Number 14, Trent Rowell. Discuss and take appropriate action concerning a report from the review committee.
Hello.
Mr. Rowell.
Yes, the subdivision committee that the court appointed a couple of meetings ago met. It was Brittany, Miss, there you go, Van Kuren, sorry, I had blanked out. Commissioner Knowlton, Walt Rakowitz, and Jess Swaim, and myself are the county engineers. Miss Van Kuren is our chairperson. We met on so I'll let her address anything that I miss, which I'm sure there will be something. We met last Thursday on the 4th. Our main purpose of setting up the committee and meeting and what we discussed is that there is a large amount of development going on in the county, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. In fact, from what we understand, it will be increasing. And so there is some things that we can do about it and some things that we can't, but the more that we try to jump on this problem sooner, the better we can try to control some of this development and keep it, keep the health and the safety of the county citizens as our goal. We talked about some changes that may be possible in the regulations, including just different standards, different engineering standards, which again is above my pay grade, but that's why we have the engineers there to determine what should go into the road standards, what should go into some of these other construction standards, maybe require an as-built certificate process, because what we have now is we have them, they get approved on the plat, but what they do out there, we don't know if they're following their plat, and so then we reach the end of this process and we may have problems there. So maybe including that and probably are going to include that process as we have the engineer or the development company certify that what they told us is what they have done. Adding another layer, I mean, if they didn't do it now, we could go and sue and blah, 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 but it adds another layer of protection for the county. but the main change that we talked about doing were process changes. So Mr. Rakowitz does business all over, but he does business in Wilson County, and he has had has a good opinion of their system, believes it's is more stringent than our system, and they are what they have is one central office where you go and do everything. You get your address, you get your plat approved. That's in the emergency services office there in Wilson County. And so what we had talked about was changing the point of entry for the plats to the 911 addressing clerk, Ms. Van Kuren, and her office, and she has agreed to do that. I reluctantly would hand her that responsibility, and so that way the idea, not just trying to get out of work, although that doesn't hurt my feelings, but so that the county attorney's office can be more focused on enforcing the problems that we have. So, for instance, we had mention of several violations that it's hard to it's hard to do both jobs, to approve review all of these plats, which are coming more and more, and then to be in charge of enforcing the violations. And violations would include not going through the process at all, which are a considerable amount of them that just, they divide the land, they put the mobile homes or whatever they're going to put on there, but they don't go through any process, or, they are violating their plat. We've got septic issues that need to be enforced, which is kind of separate from the subdivision process, but it all kind of ties together. So in that, we have a motion here today that'll be for the court to consider to move that point of entry from the county attorney's office to the Rural 911 addressing office. Eventually, what we will probably come back and ask, although we just talked about this briefly, is to move emergency management also to that office. But we haven't really fleshed out that discussion, but I just wanted to put it in y'all's ear. The whole committee seemed to be in agreement that we could fix a lot with just process changes. Just having more eyes and ears on the situation. The reason why I wanted to speak today, even though Ms. Van Kuren will be, is the chairperson and will be speaking from here on out, I hope, is that, this is not a good subject, especially in the budgetary climate we're in, but eventually I believe that Ms. Van Kuren's office is going to need some sort of assistant or help in her office. She's able to accomplish that right now, but again, just to let the citizens know and I know the commissioners know this, but this county is growing by leaps and bounds. The census figures we're in, we didn't make 50,000. It's my belief you're probably over 50,000 now, and just didn't all get counted. But even legally, you could probably go out next year and count more than that, and each year you get more and more development and more problems, and so that's not something anyone wants to hear about, but it's just a fact, and that's something that we're going to have to get ready to deal with, because I get calls from citizens about problems with septic issues, or someone putting too many mobile homes on their yard. All these things, if they're going to be enforced, have to be enforced by the county. And what everyone needs to understand, especially the citizens, is unfortunately this all costs money. And so we want to be frugal with our money, and I very much agree with that. I'm a citizen of Wilson County, and they are very frugal with my tax dollars. But know that I think that in the future, this is going to be an issue that needs to be addressed. But I'll hand it over to Ms. Van Kuren for anything else you want to add.
The idea is to have a central location for our subdivision process. That's not to say that I know or can handle every single piece of it. It is to have a central location where I can receive the documentation that we need and then make sure that that documentation is getting to each individual location that it needs to go. There are still a couple of question marks as far as procedurally how it will all work out, but that's something that we're already exploring and discussing. The idea is to take the process as digitally as possible and to make a lot of the forms, checklists, and submission points available through our website, so that we are making this process easier for developers as they come through, as far as knowing where to find what they need to submit and how to submit that paperwork, and giving them a central place to do it. And then from there, you know, our septic department, you know, we have a central file for each new development that's coming in. So our septic permits stay in that file after they're approved through our septic department. Our plats stay together in that file. Obviously, they're filed through the county clerk's office, and that's not what I'm saying, but we have a central file for each development, so it's not, you know, this piece rests in this hand, and this piece rests in this hand, and this piece may not ever get seen, or whatever the case may be. That's our general idea, is to keep everything very central, but also to better streamline the process as we move forward. He mentioned an assistant. I don't really, honestly, that's not something I'm gonna know until we make this change and see how much that increases my workload, to be honest with you. At this point, I don't anticipate any major changes within my office until we know more. We're just asking for your blessing to continue exploring this opportunity and to continue to see what changes we might make so that we can move everything fully into my office January 1 is what our hope is with the subdivision process. Do you have any questions?
Questions?
I've got a little summary. Her point is to get the permission from Commissioner's Court to consolidate the point of entry for anyone desiring to build in our county. From there, everything has to come back to Commissioner's Court, because as part of this process, we're going to be looking at the subdivision regulations. There are some areas that really need to be changed.
Absolutely.
Drastically need to be changed.
Absolutely.
And once we come up with those suggestions, we'll come back to Commissioner's Court.
And that was definitely part of the conversation, that this isn't the only change that we're planning to make. This is just one of the pieces. You know, it was discussed that our subdivision ordinance definitely needs some updates. It hasn't been updated in at least 10 years. We've seen a lot of growth since then. We've also experienced a lot of do's and don'ts. So we are definitely exploring some changes to our subdivision ordinance all by itself. We are just discussing the fact that we also need procedural changes as well, and to simplify how we as a county are handling subdivisions.
Trent, you had hit on emergency management being moved. Emergency management's under the judge, so I don't know his opinion on that, but are you meaning just the permitting and the driveways and stuff that he also takes care of, or are you hinting on the fact of removing the emergency manager and giving it to Brittany?
No. Yeah, and then let me also add that is nothing that we have. Yeah, I don't want to scare her off. That's nothing that we have finalized. We had just talked about that. My question was, my own self-interested question was, how did this get in the county attorney's office? Because in most counties, it's done in other offices, and it just so happens that Wilson County, that's where theirs is. It's emergency management, I'm sure, but they have 2 employees at least there. They may have more, but at least 2 that I know of, that handle all the permits. It's a one-stop shop for permits. That may be something you want to do, may not be something you want to do. But no, we're not. We would discuss that fully and come back for each little piece that we're doing. And we thought that this would be a good change, an easy change to start off with. Yes, the regulations need some changes. There's some definitional changes that need to be made to make it clear so that if we do have to enforce these, that we have clear legal basis to do that. Again, like I talked about, Jess and Walt were talking about, I leave it to them to figure out Jess, that's why we have 2 engineers on there. They don't work for each other. And you could see a little bit of that when they were talking. They both had differences of opinion, but you know, there's some technical items that need to be changed as far as, you know, what the requirements are for different things. And so, yeah, Brittany said that much better than I did. This is a piecemeal process, and so because it's a huge problem, or can be a huge problem. It's already a big problem, I guess we could say. But you know, the more and more development that we have, the more potential of a problem it is. And so what our idea was to take little bites of the apple as opposed to trying to shove the whole thing in at once. And so this is the first bite. Basically, if you don't have your process right, you can have the best regulations in the world, and they don't matter. The same thing I would argue with enforcement. If a third of my job to 40% of my job, and by the way, to correct the record and make sure the public knows, I'm not the county attorney. I'm the assistant county attorney. I'm the civil division for the county attorney. So about a third of my responsibilities are with approving plats. If we can take that away and I can fill that spot with enforcement, well, then that's how we get things done and get things accomplished. Because again, you can have the best regulations you want. If we're not enforcing them, it doesn't matter.
I have a comment. The idea of using the 911 addressing is that no one can start a project without getting an address.
Yes, exactly.
That's where it all starts.
Yes, and so they can't get approved. You know, they can't get their anything done without an address. And so I believe that's a good place to do it. Ms. Van Kuren is an excellent organizer and is already well familiar with this process. Both engineers said they would help her. And again, as I told them in my questions as to why this was in my office, I'm not an engineer. I don't know what I'm looking at. I have to rely on them like Ms. Van Kuren will. And so the idea is that you will have one place that you will start off with. If she has legal questions, obviously she can give me a call, but most of her questions will be, I believe, to the commissioners and the engineers. And so that's why we're doing this today. We will be meeting at the end of this month or the beginning of next month, whenever it is. I've got it on my calendar. I'm sure we'll talk about more things. This will kind of be a process where we come back to the court. We can't do anything without the court. And by the way, I mean, this will always be your ultimate authority to approve these plats. But this is just trying to streamline the process and make the rules and to where that they are what they need to be, and also to try to get our enforcement on track.
And make sure that we're bringing you complete packages when we bring you the plats to be approved through court. And that's the other piece of it, is just making sure that all the boxes are being checked, all of the I's are being dotted and the T's crossed before it ever comes before y'all, and we have additional questions or concerns after. We're trying to make sure that's all done. And just to follow up on the emergency management piece of it, it was discussed that our county is the only one, to my knowledge, in our COG that the 911 addressing is not done by their emergency management coordinator. We are a large enough county, and we have enough, that's what I'm looking for here. There's yes, thank you, resources, and there's the emergency manager has so much to do that taking on the addressing, that's why it was split so many years ago. And so that's why our county is one of the only ones that doesn't have one person holding both hats, or even it's still falling within the same department, which is what happened in Wilson County. It started with their emergency coordinator was doing 911 addressing, and that branched off into having a 911 addressing person and your emergency coordinator under the same umbrella in Wilson County. But in all the other counties in the COG, it's all done by the same individual. And so that's when that conversation came up during our committee meeting.
And we'll have more conversations about it. But before we change anything, we're not asking you to vote on all of that now. The only thing that will be up for our next agenda item is just moving that port of entry to Ms. Van Kuren's office as of January 1.
You're not asking for that today?
Yes.
He's asking for approval to move forward with the consolidation of the entry point.
Just to change where the subdivision.
Right, okay.
Or My understanding is that Commissioner Gillespie mentioned that the emergency coordinators under the county judge, which is correct. It always is. We reconsolidated the emergency manager with the fire marshal, which is the way it was for years. And the idea of putting all this, I think the direction is to move these elements all under the fire marshal / emergency manager. He's also got an assistant that can help with this, and including the inspections, including everything related to subdivision development, which would be septic inspections and.
But that'd be further down the road.
That's further down the road, but the consolidation from a supervisory point of view and an efficiency point of view makes more sense to me. But that would be for another presentation. But Commissioner Gillespie asked, so I wanted to clarify.
So you have a line item A to,
That's just our report.
right,
B is where we would actually
Okay.
consider.
So we'll move to agenda item B, discuss and take action concerning transitioning the subdivision review from county attorney to rural addressing effective January 1st, 2022.
so moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gillespie, second by Commissioner Knowlton. Discussion. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
Number 16, discuss and take appropriate action concerning updating 17.3 employee conduct and disciplinary actions in the Atascosa County Juvenile Detention Center
I think we skipped.
Personnel Manual.
You skipped.
I've skipped one?
Skip one.
Thank you. That would be a big deal. Let's go to 15. Discuss and take appropriate action to rescind the motion made by Commissioner Perez, second by Commissioner Riley, and the vote in favor by Commissioner Perez. Commissioner Riley and Commissioner Gillespie on September 27th, 2021, agenda item number 27, discuss and/or take appropriate action concerning approving business grants as recommended by the Business of Atascosa and Support Committee. Commissioner Knowlton and Judge Hurley both recused themselves from this item. Mr. Rell.
Yes, I was contacted by the committee that was and made these decisions. They had some revisions to what they had done, and they, in order for us to consider those revisions, we have to rescind the motion and vote on the previous granting of the business grants. This is the correct parliamentary procedure to do that. I had to look up Robert's Rules of Order, but it's because it was made a few meetings ago, it has to be a motion to rescind that vote as described in the agenda item, because the committee has additions and corrections to make.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gillespie, second by Commissioner Knowlton, to rescind the motion made in the September 27th agenda, item number 27, as I read previously. Is there any discussion or comments on this?
I would just like to add that there was some, there were some miscalculations that didn't get caught when we brought it to approval. And I'll take the rap of not catching them. As a commissioner, it was on the committee. And I also made sure that the committee met back with higher standards when we redid it. And we eliminated several. We had to go back and get some better information to better, I think, legally suit what we were looking for. And some of the ones that were actually in the approval of the first group were not able to perform the forms that we needed. So we did some more eliminations and actually saved more money from the grant. So that's kind of the whole reason of this. It was just some oversights on the first round, and Trent and I had spoke in the committee, and we felt that it was best if we just reevaluated all of it and made sure it was done correctly this time instead of oversights.
Yes, and just to reiterate, you know, this is the federal grant money. This was not, first of all, this was not, none of the money got spent. A, but B, this is the federal money that was provided by the federal government, which would be federal money. That's what we're talking about. This is not county money. This is federal money, and none of these dollars were handed out. The review process was done by the committee. I believe they did a good job, and I appreciate them catching these before they did, so we don't get any questions from the feds about what we did.
All right, we have a motion and a second to rescind the former motion passed in Commissioners Court. Do we have any discussion or comments on that? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Agenda item B, discuss and take appropriate action concerning the approval of small business grants revised. Recommendations by the committee for a grand total of $730,169. Mr. Rowell.
And again, I believe this is based on the new calculations that they made. Correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Gillespie, but there was $1 million available?
Correct.
Okay, and so they're not spending the entire $1 million that was a potential to be awarded again by the feds, and so that I also like the fact that we have a little cushion there because with any bureaucracy, if they come back and it looks better if we have a little cushion there, I'll just say. So, but again, they have done their job, I believe, admirably. They have went out of their way to make sure that all of these are, that they have taken a look at all the numbers, all the people being awarded businesses, or awarded grants, and so this is the number that they came up with.
That's the number the committee came up with.
That's the number the committee came up with, not me, the committee.
I'm concerned that we don't have a list of a breakdown of who it's going to.
Yeah.
I think we need to put it in the record. And I think we need that for disbursement purposes too, check writing purposes. Is she going to get that?
Yeah, she's going to get that.
If there's no objection, we'll come back to that and move on. Did we have a motion second on that?
We did, but we can.
I don't think we had it on the second one, did we?
I don't.
Not
No,
on the
not on
second
this,
one?
not on
We don't
B.
have a motion second on the table, then we will,
Just delay it.
we will delay item B and we'll move on to 16 and do that right now, and then we'll come back to it when we get that list. I felt like we should have the list in the agenda. Okay, 16 is discuss and take appropriate action concerning updating 17.3 employee conduct and disciplinary actions in the Ascos County Juvenile Detention Center Personnel Manual. Ms. Martinez, do you want to run us through them?
Yes, actually, I apologize because I think I provided 3 copies of different policies, so it's supposed to be the second page,
Well,
which is 17.3.
we can share. I have a copy
Page
here.
16.
Yeah.
I think the one that was on the agenda had an old date on there, so I just provided the updated revised date to show 10/28/21.
Okay.
Ms. Riggins and I, we worked on updating the employee conduct and disciplinary
So,
actions.
I think I have in my hand what you're talking about adopting
Yes,
with
sir.
10/28/21 on it. So we'll, if we approve this, I'll give this to the county clerk for the permanent record.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Okay, would you like to go over the changes with the commissioners, please?
Yes, let me just give you the big broad overview, and then I'll let her answer any specific questions. The changes we felt were necessary. There's been some issues that we ran into, and that caused us to look at the policy manual, and out of an abundance of caution, we wanted these 11 items added to the policy manual for the detention center, making sure that it was clear that, that we're not to have any type of touching between employees, no racial remarks, no use of drugs or alcohol, which Obviously, these are things that, you know, probably were prohibited anyway, but this makes it extremely clear to the employees and any future employees that these are the rules, and if they're not followed, they will be subject to termination. On the alcohol, I'm just going to briefly on the alcohol and drug use. We have talked about possibilities of testing for that, and so this would help us having this in the policy manual for that. Because again, my main concern, other than, obviously we want to have a good working environment for our employees, but also we have juveniles that we're taking care of, and we want to make sure that those juveniles are well taken care of, not exposed to anything, and does not subject the county to any liability. And so these items that we have listed are good items that I'm going to say probably could be enforced in other ways, but these are very specific. They list it out so that when the employee reads that, they know that if they commit an infraction of one of these, that they are subject, once it's reviewed, that they're subject to termination.
The only concern I have, and maybe you can correct me if I don't read it properly, is that I wanted this to say in somewhere that it can lead into disciplinary action up to and including immediate termination.
I believe it says that in the sanction.
Up to and including termination. It doesn't say immediate.
Where are you reading it?
I'm reading in the highlighted paragraph below procedure.
Okay. Well, we can then, if we have a motion, we can amend that to include the word immediate.
And this is based on some circumstances we have over here, and basically 9 and 10 are significant adds. 9 is zero tolerance of any form of verbal, physical, or sexual abuse, harassment, or otherwise creating a hostile work environment. Number 10 is negative or offensive references to race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, sexual preference, gender identity, disability, or socioeconomic status. Of course, theft was already in the records. Falsification of timekeeping records, I'm not sure was in there, but we've added. The drugs, bringing action, and I think number 11 is really hard to define. Any action being discredited on the Ascos County Juvenile Detention Center of the county, it's very vague. But the ones I wrote, I wanted to be specific, and they're based on some specific problems we've had. And I feel very strongly that if someone engages in sexual abuse, physical, verbal abuse, negative references, I think we need to draw a hard zero tolerance line on these, and where they can be subject to immediate termination with no warning, no disciplinary action, none of the follow-up, and I believe it's totally legal. Especially if we post it and we put it and everyone's notified.
It is definitely legal, and again, it's very important to protect the county from liability. And it does say immediate termination in the body of the procedure, but we can also insert that on top, and you just showed it to me. But I thought
well, if we just change this, says such conduct can result in disciplinary actions up to and including. We just added immediate.
That would be easier than me trying.
That's where I've always seen it put before.
Yes, one, it's right there up top. Yeah.
Yep. So we'd be changing one word, Commissioners, in the fourth line of the body underneath policy, where it says up to and including termination, it would be changed to up to and including immediate termination. So by saying disciplinary actions up to and including immediate, then we've left the door open for some judgment by the supervision and management.
Yes.
But we also can enforce a no tolerance policy on serious offenses. You know, carrying a firearm, doing drugs on the job. I mean,
we can't have that in this, Especially, and again, to remind the commissioners, the detention center is, you know, going to open up a rehabilitation pod that will be adding additional revenue to the county, but also we want to make sure that all of our rules and regulations are tight, because we will have more kids there, and we want to make sure that we are, you know, protecting the county as well.
Ms., on the first page, Ms., did you modify this? It's in yellow?
That was.
About the time clock?
I think that.
Time clock?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we've had some issues with the time clock not being followed, so she's reworded that to say that they will use the electronic time clock, and employees who have an issue not recording their time will notify someone who immediately contact IT and have it fixed. So we had some.
I have a question on that. Has your time clock been fixed?
Justin, we did call Justin out there. It just depends. Sometimes it's just the finger doesn't work, and sometimes it does.
We have the
sometimes
same
it doesn't.
problem.
So it's just a matter of calling him out every single time, because I had a kitchen staff too that it wasn't working. So it's off and on.
You line up all the guys and it may work for 3 of them and the rest of them it won't work, and then the next day it worked for 3 other ones
Yes.
and
So
none.
it's off and on, but I said moving forward, we'll just send an email to Justin to make sure that he receives that and he can come out at his convenience to get that done.
Okay.
So he was able to come out and fix that, so hopefully it'll last now.
Make a motion to accept with the understanding of adding immediately in front of termination under the procedure, line 4, I believe Judge pointed out.
Motion by Commissioner Gillespie,
Second.
second by Commissioner Moulton. Any discussion, comments, questions? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you very much for your
Thank
work,
you.
Ms. Martinez.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
And we're going back to 15B, discuss and take appropriate action concerning the approval of small business grants, revised recommendations by the committee for a grand total of $730,169. Mr. Rowell, I think you already covered it, but
I already covered it. Those are the, that's the list. I haven't even seen the list, but the Commissioner Gillespie and the committee members are here to answer any questions.
well, just like you said, not $1 of it, not 1 penny of it's coming out of county
No, this is not.
revenues of any kind, not any county revenues of any kind, much less tax dollars.
No, this is not county revenues. This is federal revenues. Again, we're leaving some money on the table, but those were the ones that applied that met the criteria. And again, I don't think it's necessarily bad when dealing with bureaucracies that you have money left on the table in case you need to do anything else. So.
All right. We have a motion and a second for approval. Did we vote?
We don't have a motion yet on this one.
No, on B, we did not have a motion
We
yet.
don't have a motion. Do we have a motion to approve the list as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Perez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Knowlton. Discussion. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. You were almost that whole page, Mr. Rowell. Number 17, discuss and take appropriate action concerning updating payroll policy allowing emergency pay such as work after normal business hours to be paid in cash and not comp time as approved by department heads. And I want to clarify cash meaning cash as paid through the payroll system. In other words, paid for with dollars and not with comp time. And the reason I felt it was important to put this on the agenda is that I didn't know it, and there's other people that didn't know it that I've talked to about it, that this was an option to the departments. And some precincts have been using it and some didn't know about it. So what this means is if you call a worker out at 2 in the morning because you've got a bridge washed out or a tree across a road and you've got to get something fixed, that you can add their pay, and you would just simply write on their timesheet at the bottom or in the middle of the time frame chronology of the timesheet, emergency pay X number of hours, but it will still come out of your budget, any department's budget. And I think it ought to be applied to all or none, is what I think.
I agree.
So that's why it's on here like this for the commissioners to make a decision on this category of emergency pay. And talking to our treasurer, she has no knowledge of this ever being approved. It's just sort of one of those things the county's always done. And
So really what it boils down to right now, we don't, except one exception, we don't pay emergency pay, they get comp time or whatever.
that's right, we haven't been doing that. And the
Okay, I agree.
detention center and the jail are exceptions. They get paid overtime for good reasons that were approved a long time ago. Yes, ma'am. Please do, and I'm glad you're okay. Are you hurt?
I'll go find out in a little bit. My back's a little sore, but I'm okay. The guy took off and they couldn't find him, so I apologize for being late. I was coming in.
Well, I think having a wreck is a legitimate excuse.
Yeah, I apologize for being late. My question is just to set some boundaries of what is considered that, because to go out and pick up a limb or, pick a rock off the road is not considered an emergency. So if y'all would mind setting what that criteria would be, that way there's no abuse of any of this.
What do we define? I mean, if the sheriff calls your people, which they do, a road's blocked, we gotta move something.
That to me is an emergency.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't send them out to pick a little rock off the road.
No, I was just.
If there's a tree in the middle of the road, they're gonna send them out.
Tracy, if they have to go out after hours, wouldn't that automatically qualify? If they have to go out after hours?
Yep, that would be, it's normally in the past, doesn't happen often, but normally in the past, if, we had a heavy rainstorm for 2 or 3 days, and there was water across the road, and someone reported it after hours to the sheriff's department, because that's where it's gonna go first. And the sheriff's department would notify that commissioner. That commissioner may call one or more superintendent out to put barricades up. That's when it would be deemed an emergency pay.
Okay, I'm good. I got it.
Listed on the time sheet as EP. And they would be paid in their check versus, getting comp time on record, on the books to use at a later date.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand, and I'm concerned about how we qualify it too. And I think that the discussion we need to have, because we don't want it abused, but we actually are letting a policy run now for which there's no authority. Not that we're aware of, nor can we find any records on it, that it was ever passed. If it was, that's fine, but we can't find it. So we're just trying to remedy that so that it's done consistently or not at all. That's my view. I'm not recommending we do it, much less as I am saying that we have to have the same policy.
Comp time pay is when we keep our crew over if we're finishing up a job or road.
Right.
They get comp for that, but not as an emergency call out.
If we're discussing scenarios, we've discussed these and we've talked about them. I don't think if you have people working on a road and they run a couple hours over, that's emergency pay. But that's comp time pay. But
Yes.
if they're called out at 2 in the morning, if I was called out at 2 in the morning, I think I'd want to get paid for it.
That's different.
Yeah, yes, sir, that's what I'm saying. It's highly unlikely, you never know what could happen, but it's highly unlikely that the auditor's office is gonna have any emergency pay, or even the courts that, they don't, or even the county clerk's office, but anything's possible depending on the type of emergency.
Sure.
Emergency management may have more of these things where we have some hourly people that are involved. Of course, our fire marshal emergency manager is is exempt, so he can't earn overtime. But the principle is what we're talking about. And I guess we just have to see if it gets abused down the road and ask the treasurer's office to keep the Commissioners Court informed of any questionable practices. Y'all have been making that decision up till now anyway.
Well,
I mean,
we don't, it happens very rarely.
Yes.
And it usually happens with our commissioners, and they've had an emergency. And in fact, the first time I saw it, I called and I said, this happens in the sheriff's department, what is this? So then we have to do calculation, come with an hourly wage, and we pay it accordingly. It does not happen very often, and you do need to be aware that it still comes out of your salary line item, so, that you don't go over budget. It doesn't happen very often.
Well, I would just suggest that if you see something you think doesn't really apply, that you just wait to pay it and bring it to Commissioners Court and let the Commissioners make that decision. Then it takes it out of your,
I can certainly do that.
I bet you wouldn't mind.
Yes, without any problem at all.
All right.
I make a motion to approve number 17 with the explanation of the purpose. When it's been used, use the explanation of why it was used on your timesheets.
Okay, we have a motion for approval. Second by Commissioner Riley. Motion is by Commissioner Gillespie. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Number 18, discuss and take appropriate action to correct the following external audit program finding by moving the pay periods to be the first of the month through the last day of the month. Then after the cutoff, payroll will be processed and paid for that period. To make this transition, approved to reprocess October 2021 using actual time and pay on November 23rd, 2021 is scheduled. 2021-001 payroll. We noted payroll is processed prior to hours worked. Therefore, if an employee quits or is terminated, said employee will receive compensation for hours he or she did not actually work. And I'm sorry you had an accident, but I'm so glad you're here to explain that, because I don't think I could have done it. What the situation is that we've been written up year after year, every year I've been here, by the external auditor, that we are paying a month behind. And they want us to get current, that we're getting our timesheets in for the same month after we're paying for that month.
Correct.
That's what I mean by a month behind. And instead of getting the timesheets in and calculating those to pay for the next pay period. So that's what we're trying to fix. The reason it's more urgent that we fix it now than in the past few years is that this report went to
we qualified for a single audit, and with a single
Where?
audit, we qualified last year for a single audit. So now with a single audit, the feds and everybody get these reports.
everybody gets the audits. So now there's a strong possibility that any grants we have working will be withheld until we fix this by state and federal authorities. So it's a matter of money now that we get this fixed. And Ms. Barrera has a plan, so would you tell us about it, please?
Yes, sir, thank you. I did my research. I called TAC Legal, I called TAC HR, I called TAC Payroll. I got their advice. I talked to our external auditor, explained the situation and how we planned on fixing it. The treasurer and the judge and I had several conversations about what's gonna be best. We have to do something that's not gonna affect our budget, because we're not budgeted to pay an extra payroll. So by law, if Commissioner's Court approves it, we can reprocess October using actual hours worked. So the cutoff would be October 31st. Timesheets would go to the treasurer's office. They'd process payroll, and in November, October's payroll will be paid on the regular scheduled time. We're scheduled to be paid November 23rd. That will continue. So it will not affect the employees, and that was something else that was big. We don't want to have to make employees wait to get a paycheck. We don't want to have to interrupt their lives by us trying to fix this. So this will not affect employees' pay. It will not affect our budget, and it can be done if Commissioners Courts approve it. So we'll get a check in November, which will be October actual time worked. And then in December's paycheck, timesheets will go out. They'll be November 1st through the end of November. We'll process timesheets in the treasurer's office, and then December, whatever the December pay date is, they'll get a paycheck on that scheduled date. Starting in January, which the treasurer will bring to Commissioner's Court, but now that we've got this corrected, we will be able to, in January, when we process time, which would be December 1st through the end of the month, that we will have paid on January 15th. So our pay date from January on will be the 15th. So basically, everybody's gonna get paid 2 weeks before the normal pay date of what we've been doing. Yes?
Are we not going to have to change the timesheets to reflect the exact month? I understand now they go through the 10th.
Yes.
Well, it changes every month, but it's, the 10th is for part-time, is when we do the 10th of every month. But, it varies anywhere from the 10th through the 15th of the month, it depends. But we try to keep it, we try to keep it 4 to 5 weeks at a time.
We're not talking about our hourly payroll, are we?
Well, it will affect the hourly, starting in January.
It'll sync it to where we can do one payroll. There won't be a big payroll and a part-time payroll. There won't be 2 separate payrolls to run. It will all run in one.
And everybody will be paid on the 15th of the month, starting in January.
Yeah, so basically, they'll get a paycheck 2 weeks before what we've normally
Are
done.
we not going to cut off the timesheets at the end of the month?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. That was my question.
Yes, yeah.
The first through the last working day of the month would be.
So we need to change the timesheets to reflect the first of the month, the first day of the month through the last day of the month.
Correct.
Working days.
And to correct October, being that the timesheets were already calculated through the 10th, she'll send out the 11th through the 31st timesheets. And that's what we'll do the actual time for those dates.
And the checks will be paid out on the 15th, but it'll still be for a whole month, right?
Yes, yeah, starting in January. November's paycheck, they'll get it as scheduled, and December's paycheck, they'll get it as scheduled. There will be no,
But the November, I think what he's asking is the November paycheck will be for a whole month, yes.
yes, it'll still be for the whole month. But this was the only transition.
Reggie's here to explain it.
I got it.
This was the only way to transition without it affecting the budget, and getting us in compliance. And this has been done this way, I mean, there's a lot of counties that still pay this way.
So in essence, what was happening before, they were getting your paycheck for time not yet worked.
Yes.
Some of it was not yet worked.
Some of it, yeah, it overlapped.
So now we've come into the real world, we're gonna work for 30 days and get paid afterwards.
Correct.
Got it.
We got 31 days in some months and 30 in
Well, I
others,
understand.
28 in others. There's gonna be a fluctuation there.
Of course, but again, that can be handled with pay periods.
Yeah. It will not affect anyone's pay at all. I will stress this, though. In January, when they get their first check in January on the 15th,
It's gonna be a long time.
it's December's time, so their payroll, the new pay rate will not be on that check.
It'll get paid in February for time worked.
Yes, so February's check will have their increase on it. So just so you please let your employees know.
All right.
Any questions?
We're gonna get paid end of the month?
No, everybody will be paid
Okay.
on time.
Commissioner Milton, motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gillespie. Discussion, questions, comments? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
All I can say is, let's try it, and if it doesn't work, we'll come back and we'll try something else.
I think this is good.
This
I
sounds
appreciate it.
very confusing, but if you and Laura understand it, then I think we're in good hands.
Thank you.
All right. Number 19, discuss, review, and take action to accept and approve any invoices and payroll. I don't see any live checks. The bills are signed by the commissioners, so I'm going to read the amounts of the payroll, and then we're going to be approving the payroll and the bills that are already signed. So the small payroll is $144,041.03, and the big payroll is $1,994,965.02.
Make a motion to approve payroll and bills.
Thank you, Commissioner. Motion by Commissioner Perez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Riley. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Number 20, discuss, review, and take action on reports submitted. We do not review reports at the first meeting. We now do it at the second meeting. So that item is dismissed. And then number 21 is comments from Commissioners Court with no action to be taken. The next regular Commissioners Court is set for Monday, November 22nd. There will be a special called Commissioners Court meeting November 10th, 2021. That is this Wednesday. I'm going to add that is this Wednesday. It's at 9 a.m. and it's to originally to canvass the vote, which it still is, but secondarily it'll be to finalize the redistricting. And of course, it's a public meeting. The public is welcome, anyone that wishes to come to it. And is there anyone that has anything they wish to say at this time? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.